And I think we're live. So welcome to MADPD 2019. My name is Beth Skelton, and I'm here today with three colleagues to share one strategy that I find really supportive for introducing new materials, for building background knowledge, for building vocabulary, and it's called See-Think-Wonder. It's from Harvard Project Zero, and I'll show you all that information. But I'd like to introduce my colleagues who are joining me here live so we can have an interactive session. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name's Mari McCarville, and I am studying curriculum and instruction at the University of Denver, and I will be a third grade teacher in 1 year.
Great, welcome Mari.
My name is Mimi Allen, and I am presently teaching 6th grade ELL literacy, and I'm an ELL coach in Garfield RE2 in Rifle, Colorado.
Sweet, thanks.
Hi, I'm Mindy Becker, and I teach kinder through 5th grade ELL at Lincoln Elementary School in Delta, Colorado.
Great, thank you. So as you can tell, these are mostly ELL focused because that's what I mostly work with and train teachers to support English language learners. And I find that this strategy is one that really works well to support all learners, but especially English language learners. So I'm going to share my screen. If you'd like to chat, there's a blue message box up in your far left corner. We'll be monitoring that chat during the time. You can just click on that and type in. And when I click on share screen, if you've been watching MADPD all day, you know you get a vortex, so it's just going to take a second, and then I'll share my screen and we'll practice. We're going to actually do a See-Think-Wonder. If you're not watching live, if you're on the chat, go ahead and chat in your responses and you can participate that way. So here we go into a screen share, and let's hope that everyone gets to see my screen. And if I can just have confirmation on my live, are we in?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So like I said, this is a visible thinking routine. There are many, many visible thinking routines, and they all come from Harvard Project Zero. And you can find them in this book, Making Thinking Visible, by Ron Richard, Mark Church, and Karen Morrison. And this was from 2011. These practices are well known now in the education world, especially international education, where I do a lot of work as well. And so if you're interested in more than what I can provide in 15 minutes, I would highly recommend this resource. So let's just jump in. Since we only have 15 minutes to really present, we're going to jump into a See-Think-Wonder. This picture comes from the New York Times. It's a feature called What's Going On in This Picture. And every week, the New York Times posts an interesting picture from somewhere around the world, and it asks the kids to actually do a See-Think-Wonder with the picture for a whole week. And then on Friday, they reveal the caption as well as a short article about the picture. And so the kids are building interest and curiosity for the whole week. And so I'd highly recommend this feature as well. Not all pictures are appropriate K-12. Some of them are, many of them are better for the secondary. So the picture I've chosen is actually from a couple years ago from this New York Times feature. I'm going to go in and let you see it really large. And we're going to use this sentence frame to go back and forth with your partner just to say what you see. I see or I notice. And you're really looking closely at the picture. Only things that you can actually see, no interpretations, just what you can see in the picture. All right, so my team is going to jump in and take it away. What do you see in this picture?
So I see a little girl asleep in a woman's arms.
I see colorful art.
I see two dogs looking off into the distance.
I see somebody's jeans butt.
And I see grates or some sort of metal behind pillars.
Sweet. You guys You have done a great job of really looking closely. And we could go further. We could talk about red flowers. We could talk about the little girl pink tennis shoes. There's lots of things that you can get into detail. What this first stage does is have students really look closely. There's some things that I want to make sure that students see, and I might point them out. For example, what do you see on the ground that might be important for this picture?
Sand
I see
or dirt?
dirt.
Sand, dirt, right, great. So if I pointed out, like Mari originally said she saw a little girl, no one noticed that there's a mobile phone in the pocket, I might point that out. Great job, Mindy saw 2 dogs, someone saw a post or pillars. I'm gonna label the vocabulary as it comes up, as the students say it. So there's no, the word pillar is fine. I just happen to have post on here already. And then great, I think Mari mentioned that, or painted flowers or colorful paintings. So you're gonna label this, so I'm building the vocabulary as well as descriptive words that go with it, and then focused on just what you can see. That's awesome. So then the next step in See-Think-Wonder is that you're actually going to interpret. And this is a brilliant way to help kids with inferencing. And here's a sentence frame that you could use. I think this is happening, or I think this is where it is, or I think because, and then you add your reason for why you think this. And so it's an inference step. You're interpreting what you can see, what your observations are helping you interpret in the picture. When we ask kids to infer in text, it's sometimes too much. So starting with a picture is a really great way to help kids learn the skill of inferencing. So we'll go back to the picture. I'm keeping the labels up so that you can use those in your inferencing if you'd like. And we'll just jump in again. And if my team would try this out with the sentence frame, I think because, and then using the picture. Go for it.
I think it is hot outside because the little girl is wearing a t-shirt.
I think it is very dry and arid just because of the presence of the sand.
I think the dogs are watching someone off in the distance. Maybe the person is getting closer.
Any other inferences about where it might be or why they might be standing at that fence?
I think the fence looks like a barrier, either to keep someone out or keep someone in.
I think this may be at a border.
Uh-huh.
I think the woman and the child are waiting for someone.
Because, Mindy?
Because it looks like they've been there for a long time since the child is sleeping.
Excellent. So again, I would be writing down your inferencing, and just like I did with Mindy, I will follow up with why do you think they've been waiting a long time? It's a great inference, but what makes you say that is really the follow-up question. And what makes you say that is actually another visible thinking routine, is just getting kids to justify why they said it. And most of you were justifying as you went along. So if I could even ask Mari, why do you think this is at a border? I didn't follow up there.
Because I think this is at a border because there is a fence that seems to be keeping people in or out.
Great, so she's gonna justify her thinking. So again, I'm gonna write those down. And because I didn't know what you were going to say, I came up with a few I thought you might, and you guys we were right on. I think she's been waiting for someone. Mindy, we were thinking the same way because the little girl has fallen asleep and looks tired. I think it's in Mexico at the border. You guys didn't use that term, but you could have. Somebody did talk about it's dry and sandy at this border. Someone talked about the dogs. I think it was Mindy. I think the dogs are guard dogs because they're watching closely, or Mindy saw it looking at something in the distance. So again, I'm just going to write those down, making sure that the kids are supporting their thinking with something from the picture. I can also at this point share what an inference is, that you are using what you know, your background knowledge or something in the visual to make an interpretation, to extend it further. So excellent job on that. The final step of See-Think-Wonder is where you get to just ask questions. What is going on in this picture? And when you ask questions, you might wonder, I wonder who. I wonder where, I wonder why or what or how or when or if. You can use any of those prompts to come up with a whole bunch of questions about this picture. So here we have the picture one more time, the last time, and just jump in and ask any questions that arise for you from this picture.
Beth, before I ask my question, I just wanted to say welcome to Sarah Scherer. She's joined us. She's muted here on our chat, but she's joined our group. And just going back to the picture, I wonder why the mother is standing next to the grate. I wonder why she is at this border.
Super.
I wonder if she's being kept in or being kept out.
Oh, great question.
I wonder how long they have been waiting at the border.
Or what they're waiting for exactly.
Oh, great questions, all of the above. And at this point, we really want to find out. We've looked at the picture. We've been working on this for about 10 minutes where the kids are really diving deep into the picture. They've generated a lot of curiosity. And now this could be the start of my unit. Any picture that inspires this kind of curiosity. And this might just be before we introduce a text. So I'm sure you guys want to know, but this is actually the text that came with it. So Maria Elena Carrillo, 31, held her sleeping daughter, Camilla Escalante, 3, while she spoke to her brother and sister who live in Kansas. Now, wait a minute. Who lives in Kansas? The woman that we see?
No, the brother and sister.
Excellent. The brother and sister. So the woman that we see, is she in Kansas?
No.
Oh, no. Okay, no. So the brother and sister live in Kansas, but Maria is speaking to them through the border fence. Now, what countries is that border fence separating? We're going to find that out, separating Mexico and the United States. All right. So which country is Maria standing in with her daughter?
Mexico.
You got it. And so the through the fence meetings, that's what they're doing. They're looking through the fence. They're meeting there, are limited to weekends on the United States side at what is known as Friendship Park. Where's Friendship Park? In the United States or in Mexico?
United States.
United States.
Right. And the Friendship Parks straddle the California border with Tijuana, Mexico. So now I have a follow-up question. If the brother and sister live in Kansas, what does that mean about this visit for them at the California border?
That they have traveled there.
Yeah, they had to travel to get to the Friendship Park to talk to the sister.
And perhaps she has had to travel herself to get there.
Exactly. Maria may have traveled a long time to get to this park on the Mexico side as well. So this complex text that we just read is only 2 sentences, but I'd like you to look at all of the clauses that are embedded in here. So we have while she spoke to her brother and sister, who live in Kansas. We've got prepositional phrases like through the border fence, and then describing it, another clause, separating Mexico and the United States. We have complex adjectives, through the fence, that have the dash there. We have this at what is known as Friendship Park. So that what clause is another noun clause describing the park. Amazing amount of complex structures that are built into these 2 sentences. If the students hadn't done the pre-work to get to this, this is super complex for them to attack. But since we've gotten all the background and we've spent the time looking at it, we can start to make the pieces fit together and break down this complex sentence. And this would lead us into all kinds of other work with complex sentence structures. But now we got to text. So that is See-Think-Wonder, and it's 3 real kind of easy parts. Once the kids know the routine, you can have them do it all at once. They can see, think and make their own interpretation, and wonder, kind of all in a chain. They can say, I see two dogs. I think they're guard dogs, but I wonder what they're guarding. So you could do it all in once the students know it. I generally introduce the structure in 3 steps, just like I did in the model here. What I'd like to do is show a video clip of students doing all 3 of them together so you can see how fluent it is. This is from an international school in Amsterdam, and the students there all do See-Think-Wonder regularly, so they know the structure, and you're gonna see them. It's about a 3-minute clip, and you'll notice them looking at the pictures closely and doing a see, a think, and a wonder kind of all together. You'll also see here that you can do it just like with a book cover before reading Owl Moon, for example, and the teacher is charting this because this was from a 2nd grade class. And then the students wrote their own wonders on a sticky note. So it's a really versatile strategy for all kinds of introductory activities or charting kids' thinking. So here's that clip where they do it all at once. Well, sorry.
I've chosen 2 routines today to use to explore the book. First of all, we're going to use the See-Think-Wonder routine. So I want them to focus, first of all, on looking at the painting. What can they see? What might be going on here? What's the big idea in the story, in the painting first? And then when they've done that, they can read the text. And then to make sense of the text, they'll use the sentence, phrase, word routine. So what I want you to do is today you're going to get a piece of paper like this. It's going to have a painting. It's going to have some text at the bottom. And what I want you to do first of all in your groups is just to focus on looking at the painting. Before you read anything, I want you to look really, really carefully at the picture. I want you to use the See-Think-Wonder in your conversation to look incredibly detailed at all the little details in the picture, yeah? Because the beauty of that routine is that it slows us down, yeah? And it helps to focus our attention on all the details that are in the painting. They're beautiful paintings and they tell their own story, really. So look at the paintings and ask each other, what can we see? What do we think's going on here? Does it bring up any questions in our minds? Are we wondering about anything? And then when you think you've really learnt a lot from the painting, then you can go to the text and you can read the text together. And to make sense of the text, we're going to use the sentence, phrase, word routine. Okay, now we have used this routine before. And this routine helps us to really capture what's most important in a piece of writing. Those small snippets from the whole text will be like a summary of the text. It's going to capture what's important in this part of the story. It was clear to me that several of the children really didn't know anything about the slave trade. So I'm curious to see how they react to this story and how they're making connections between this story, what they've been reading in the K, and also the other activities that we've had during this unit as well.
Maybe her hand is out. Or maybe she's the mother. Yeah, and they're having a disagreement. So maybe he actually kind of. They're all black. No, yeah, they're all black people, and they don't look very happy, do they? They look really angry. Look at the okay, so looks like they've been in pain. And real pain. And they don't have any hair. No, it looks like they've been shaved. Maybe it's part of their uniform. And there are quite a few bodies in the water. There are 23 so, and then some of the bodies they look dead, so they look like they're not moving. Yeah, it's just like the waves get really big in the ocean, and they like bring you under, you hit your head on something. Yeah. And the ship looks quite big. These ships, they look like really pretty on the outside, but like so really bad on the inside. And he was the leader or something. And maybe he was the chief of the village. Yeah, maybe. So what does it make you wonder? I wonder what's gonna happen.
So I stop it there because I'm going to stop all this right now anyway. Hi, welcome back. I stop it there because I love that question that the student asked at the end. So what does it make you wonder? And they've looked really closely. They've counted bodies in the water. They've looked at the ships and all the pictures. And then somebody asked, what does it make you wonder? And you can tell these kids have learned this strategy and that it's part of their routine. You caught a snippet of a second routine that I'm not going to go into called sentence, phrase, word. So what I want to open it up to are, hi and welcome, Sarah. Glad you're here too, is just simply how you've used this routine, what it's meant to you. If you have any other ideas for anyone that's watching this webinar or who will watch this professional development later, some thoughts for them about your own experience using See-Think-Wonder. Anyone want to jump in?
I did this routine in my middle school, and it was one of the most influential routines that I learned, or strategies that I learned for my later in life, because I would go to museums later, and even just recently I went to a museum, and really to analyze the paintings, I used this strategy for myself and focused on first, what did I see? And then what do I think about the abstract art? And then what do I wonder about the artist and his work? And it helps me not only academically, but also at museums, in performances, at concerts, to really get more out of the experience. And it's been really influential in my own academic journey.
Great, thanks, Maury.
I've used it a lot as a social studies teacher, especially as a step before we get into really complicated primary sources. So the American Revolution would be an example. We can take any one of the famous paintings associated with the Continental Congress and all that kind of stuff and run through this, because in social studies we run up against the complex text structures a lot. And even though 8th grade is a different ballgame than 2nd grade, they're still language learners when it comes to that kind of writing. So I used it a lot as like unit opening activities for first step to getting into some more complicated primary sources.
Yeah, thanks. That's great. Mindy, have you had a chance to try out See-Think-Wonder with your little ones?
I have, and it's on my plans for tomorrow with my kindergartners. We are introducing the ocean, and we're going to have 2 weeks of ocean animals, but I have little pictures of waves and underwater and all sorts of ocean pictures, and I'm going to have them work with a partner to talk about what they see, and they'll take turns. I see, and keep going back and forth. I won't have them do any writing yet, but this is going to help us build our background knowledge, and then we'll go into, we'll read stories about the ocean, and then we'll add more to our little background knowledge chart. So I was excited that I'm actually using it tomorrow. This is a good refresher.
Yay, that's great. Sarah, I don't know if you're on live, if you can hear us, if you've had a chance to use it and you want to jump in.
Yeah, I use something very similar to it. Interestingly enough, I have combined it with mindfulness, in that I will show a photo or a snippet of a clip, and the kids have to be silent for 2 minutes or through the entire clip, and then we...
Whoop, you went out.
At what people... Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Look at what people noticed, and report out on that, and that kind of sets the tone for I do a reading intervention, so kind of looking deeper into what we're reading that day.
So thank you all for sharing how you used it. I heard some really neat themes, and I'm going to start with the one Sarah and Mari both talked about, is this idea that the routine becomes kind of part of how you see the world. It becomes part of how you operate, and it slows us down. It slows us down from making judgments. So Sarah thanks that mindfulness piece, because we're just looking. We're not immediately going to inferencing or immediately going to judgment or what we think about it. We're just noticing. And as Mari said, you know, it transfers into real life, going to a museum and seeing paintings. It transfers into how we interact with other people. So See-Think-Wonder is more than just like a mini strategy in the classroom. So that's huge. And then I heard from Mimi and Mindy that it's great for building background knowledge because you're using a visual, whether it's a video clip like Sarah mentioned, or a great picture that builds background just by looking at it. And for English language learners, the start of the background building with vocabulary is huge. And then just labeling that picture. And I had a slide, so it was already on there. But if I'm posting on a whiteboard, or if it's a place where kids can write the words on a picture, they're building vocabulary before they jump into complex text. So it's a great strategy for a lot of different reasons. And I sure appreciate you guys sharing that out. Any questions or thoughts that haven't been covered, or something you saw in the video that you were wondering about? That comes directly from the book that I mentioned at the beginning, Making Thinking Visible. And so it's Lisa Van Kirk from Amsterdam International School. And other thoughts that you have before we close today?
I think that labeling is key to be able to have students, English language learners, see it both in text and verbally. So I love seeing that, and I was going to ask how to do that, but you just gave me the simple solution. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Like if you're projecting on a whiteboard, it's super easy. You just write on the whiteboard and leave it up. Some people will project onto white paper or like a poster paper, and then those words stay in the classroom. It becomes like an interactive word wall. Other ideas are just blowing up a picture. Like Mindy, you might have it on the table with your kinders, and as they see things, even if it's just colors, you could walk around and label what they're saying, so that
That's how I do it, because you can. It doesn't have to be, if you can use it even if you don't have any access to any tech at all. As long as you have a copier that can make, ideally a color copy. I found it really useful to have like in groups of 4 with the picture blown up in front of them, because they're able to interact with it better than if they are sitting in a chair and it's across the room on a screen.
Yeah, and we saw that in the video clip as well, that the kids had it at a table that they were looking at and pointing and touching and talking about. Thanks. Oh, you guys, thank you so much for joining us for MADPD 2019. This was See-Think-Wonder. My name is Beth Skelton. I'm at EA Skelton on Twitter. And you can find me at bethskelton.com. Thank you all so much for being here. And I hope that was a strategy you can use. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye.